welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into, well, kind of an uncomfortable truth behind global inequality. Have you ever wondered why some nations thrive, building these towering skylines and booming economies, while others completely collapse into poverty? The answer is really not what you might think.
Section 1. The light and the dark. Okay, look at a satellite image of the Korean Peninsula at night. This single picture completely changes how we understand poverty. On one side, brilliant, glowing light, and on the other, almost total darkness. But here's the crazy part. We're looking at the exact same people, sharing the exact same history, and sitting on the exact same geography. So how on earth did one side become so incredibly rich while the other basically collapsed?
Faced with a massive disparity like this, most people just default to the usual excuses, right? They blame geography. They claim it's a lack of natural resources, or they just chalk it up to plain old bad luck. But honestly, none of those assumptions explain the stark divide we're seeing on this peninsula.
The economic difference here is just staggering. When you compare the GDP per capita, which is basically the average wealth per person, between North and South Korea, the massive gap completely shatters our traditional explanations for poverty. It's clearly not the land, it's not the resources. So, what's actually going on?
Section 2. The rules of the game. Now, this pattern isn't unique to Korea. All over the globe, we see this exact same thing. Some countries grow incredibly rich, while others remain trapped in deep poverty for literally decades, seemingly unable to move forward at all. Why does this keep happening over and over again?
Well, the answer isn't geography, culture, or intelligence. The real deciding factor is something called institutions. Think of institutions as the underlying rules of the game for a society. These rules determine who owns what, who actually holds the power, and who gets the real opportunities to succeed. And let me tell you, these rules change absolutely everything.
Section 3. 2 types of systems.
When you strip away all the complexity, institutions fundamentally divide into just two starkly different systems. First, you have inclusive systems. Here, your property is protected, laws actually apply equally, and people are actively encouraged to build and innovate. The inevitable result? Economic growth. But then second, you have extractive systems. In these, power is highly concentrated, the rules favor a tiny elite, and wealth simply flows straight upward. And the result of that? Complete economic stagnation.
Section 4. The colonial divergence. We can actually see this play out perfectly in history. Look at regions conquered by the exact same colonizers. In North America, the institutions were largely set up to encourage wide property ownership and civic participation. But in other colonized regions, the systems were deliberately designed with a singular, ruthless purpose, just to extract natural resources and control human labor.
The takeaway here is profound. These places shared the exact same colonial origins, but vastly different institutional rules engineered completely different futures for the people living there. It was the rules, definitely not the resources, that dictated the centuries that followed.
Section 5. The cost of extraction. And this isn't just ancient history either. Take modern-day Zimbabwe. The country went through these sudden, really dramatic policy shifts that resulted in aggressive land seizures. Basically, overnight, the fundamental property rights that any functioning economy desperately relies upon just totally collapsed.
And the results? They were immediate and devastating. Right after these seizures, agricultural production violently collapsed. We aren't talking about a minor dip in crop yields here. This was a catastrophic fall that led directly to massive national food shortages.
I want to be incredibly clear here, because the documentary evidence speaks volumes. This economic devastation was not an accident. It wasn't just a bad harvest or a stroke of bad luck. It was a deliberate policy decision that fundamentally altered the rules of the game.
Section 6. Poor by design.
Seeing all this, you naturally have to ask a pretty logical question. If these extractive systems so clearly destroy wealth and literally starve populations, why wouldn't the leadership just fix the rules? Like, why not just flip the switch and move to an inclusive system?
Well, the answer lies in the power pyramid. You see, for the elites sitting at the very top, the system isn't broken at all. Extractive systems funnel wealth directly into their pockets. It's working perfectly for them. Fixing the economy would mean empowering the broader population. It means the elites would have to surrender their absolute control, and as history shows us, that is a trade they are rarely, if ever, willing to make.
When we zoom back out to a global scale, the inequality between rich and poor nations is enormous, and in a lot of places, that gap simply isn't closing. This power dynamic explains exactly why.
You literally cannot fix a nation's economy without first fixing the power structure behind it.
So, looping back to the Korean Peninsula, the reality becomes crystal clear. It's never about the geography, it's never about the weather, it is always about the systems in place. Same geography, entirely different systems. That is the real difference between the light and the dark.
So, the next time you see a country struggling with deep, persistent poverty, I really challenge you to completely change how you view it. Stop asking about their natural resources. Stop blaming bad luck. Instead, start asking, who actually holds the power here? And who really benefits from the current rules? Because the shocking, undeniable takeaway from all of this data is that countries do not stay poor by accident. They stay poor by design. It's definitely a heavy thought, but understanding these hidden rules is the absolutely crucial first step toward actually changing them. Thanks for joining me for this explainer. Keep questioning the systems around you, and I'll see you next time.